You just suffered a heart attack. What next? How do you learn to trust your heart again? Today, I sit down with Dr. Ann Saltzman, and we talk about ways in which to heal your heart physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Thank you so much, Dr. Ann, for being here on Heartquake Media. We met the first support group ever that we hosted at UCLA, and you are a cardiac psychologist. So tell us about how you got into that field of women and our hearts.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, always a pleasure being with you. So I did my research for my doctorate on the notion of trauma associated with a medical procedure. And the cardiac department at UCLA needed to have somebody who would address the trauma and the emotional turmoil that anybody can experience when they have a heart diagnosis or a heart event. What was amazing to me is when I started talking to patients as I was doing my study and my research, they wanted to talk about it. And they really needed to have somebody neutral to share their pain, their sorrow, their fear, because more often than not, the family is not the best.
When you're given a heart disease diagnosis,
right,
all we want to do is keep our family safe and protected in a way. I felt like I had to censor what I was thinking because I didn't want to concern my family.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that's the journey of a heart patient.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so it's sort of the blessing and the curse of having heart disease or a heart event, because it doesn't show. So, you have a heart attack, you have a heart intervention, and then you go back to your family, you go back to work, and you look great.
Right.
Nothing happened, right? So you keep everything inside, and it's very difficult for the recovery process because, like you said, you want to protect your family, but at the same time, you're very, very scared.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. The most important, arguably, the most important organ in your body.
Exactly.
And especially when you get a diagnosis like heart failure, you have a heart attack, and it's all overwhelming and it's scary.
Absolutely.
And so I'm so grateful you're sitting here with me because I coined the phrase heartquake or trauma of the heart. And you are on the front lines. I mean, you were there with us for the first meeting in 2012.
That's right.
And February 2012. And so how do you help people through their own heartquake or trauma of the heart?
So I have to say that I love this idea of the heartquake. And I know he came up with that. And I think it's perfect because a trauma is like an earthquake, an unexpected and life-threatening experience. That's a trauma. It has to be unexpected and life-threatening, which is exactly the fact. I mean, that's what happens when you have a heart event or a heart diagnosis or a heart attack. So the way to help people recover from it is, first of all, to allow them to talk about their fear. More often than not, I have found with my patients, people who have heart disease or heart attack, they're actually very strong people. They're people who are always there for everybody else. And so it's very difficult to become the person who is now vulnerable. So it's kind of an identity shift from being the caregiver, the strongest person, the person that everybody goes to for care, for taking care of this, taking care of that, to become the person who is vulnerable.
Right. It's
right?
It's not easy. It's
right?
like, because you're there for everyone else.
Exactly.
And that also includes receiving too.
Exactly.
I find that that's the most challenging thing for heart patients, is to actually like, oh my God, I've gone through this event. How can I receive?
That's a very good point, because you need to receive. And the heart itself, when the heart beats, it goes out, it beats out and in, and out and in, right?
I never thought about it that
way. Yeah. So it gives, it's important to give.
Right.
But it needs to receive also. So what I've found in talking to people and talking to the lovely women that we have at the group and talking with you at the beginning of our relationship, what I have found is that to help women and people recover, it's really when you tell them, think about your heart. And when you do something in your life continues, life is long, it's not going to stop now, and that's wonderful because medicine and cardiology is just amazing field and the progress are unbelievable. When you do something, think about your heart.
Yeah.
And at that moment, when you concentrate on it, you will be in touch with a part of yourself that maybe you forgot before.
Yeah. What is trauma of the heart to you?
First of all, this moment in your life where something is wrong. You can feel it, you can tell. You feel dizzy, you have pain somewhere, you feel tired, and you eventually say, I need to go to the emergency room, I need to go to the ER. So that's one thing. And then you arrive there and then boom, 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 test, blood test, boom. And they tell you, okay, you're having a heart attack, we're here, don't worry, we'll fix it. After that, start the journey.
Mm-hmm. That's a real journey.
It's a real journey.
Yeah.
Because you woke up that morning and everything was great, but then suddenly you feel your life is at danger. Right? But you recover. Like I said, technology is amazing in cardiology and we can save lives in a way never before. Then start the journey. What I have found often is that moment of ultimate loneliness, solitude, where your identity is broken. It's broken for a few minutes, maybe an hour or two, but suddenly you don't know who you are any longer. You're in disbelief.
Right.
Is this really happening to me? I can't believe this, because it's not unusual that people don't have the physical profile of having heart disease.
Right.
They are not overweight, they exercise regularly.
Yeah, it's true. And then it comes out of nowhere and it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Right. Exactly.
How am I supposed to manage this new
life? The new life. So cardiologists will give you all the guidance, medication, diet, exercise, but as far as the emotional aspect of it, this moment where you lost your identity for a moment, that's what I focus on with patients, because it's very difficult to come back from it. The other thing also is the heart trauma will reopen past trauma. Somebody who has had childhood trauma, let's say, even though they came out of it and they're resilient, the day they're having a heart attack or a heart event, that past trauma, that past history will reopen. And the last thing, and I work on that so much, the guilt, the feeling of guilt of having had a heart attack, so toxic, because you are not responsible.
Right. Right. And that's what I'm talking about, that shame and the blame. Like, I have people in our support group, it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have had that last hamburger or this or what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? You're free to patients, right?
Yes.
In the center, which is huge. I mean, I don't know that everyone knows that, but this is a big deal that you are free to the patients.
Right. But you have to be part of the Women Heart Center. I mean, it's not open to everybody. But
yes. If they don't have access to you, what else can they do? How can they navigate through? They've just suffered a heart attack or they're lying in the hospital, and where do I turn to? What am I supposed to do?
Very good question. So I would 100% suggest to people to get into therapy and to just talk about the trauma and the guilt and the shame. It's an important part of the process to figure out, because it may actually impair the recovery process. Because if you feel guilty, if you feel shame, and I still don't understand why in our society having heart disease or having a heart attack is a stigma.
I know.
It's a stigma.
I know, but
which is, I mean, let's remind
people
everybody.
People don't talk about it.
They don't talk, right. And let's remind everybody, it's the #1 killer in the country. So it shouldn't be a stigma. It should be something that is embraced, that is worked on, and we should have more psychologists talking about heart disease and caring for people who have had heart issues. But so really not feeling the guilt, the shame, working on that and see where it stems from, because often the shame and the guilt stems from a past trauma, from a history. And realizing that you're not responsible. No, it's not necessarily the last hamburger or French fries you had that caused that. Any cardiologist would say it's very difficult to really pinpoint one risk factor. What's important, I think, is to see, to take the time, and again, with a professional, you do it with a professional, it's too difficult to do it with the family. And by the way, just to go back to that, the family is also very scared. You know, you want to protect them, but they're also very scared. And, you know, friends, sometimes they feel like, oh, it could happen to me, so it becomes about them.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, they turn it all around them.
They talk about them, etc. But, so having said that, it's very important to have a professional help you identify the feelings that you experience that day, that at that moment, and how it can actually mirror past guilt, past shame, and connect the dots in a way. You connect the dots, and as soon as you do that, as soon as you connect the dots between your history and what's going on right now at this moment of your life, as soon as you do that, it sort of diffuses itself. You're like, okay, now I understand myself better.
Yeah.
So you're not so immersed into the guilt, the shame, which, by the way, when people feel that on a chronic level, you become sort of manic. You want to be perfect at all times.
No, and
then perfect everywhere, so you don't have to experience any kind of
discomfort.
Discomfort. There you go. Discomfort.
And if you don't want to experience discomfort, that's not the human experience. The human experience is layered with discomfort.
Right. It's exactly very true.
So do you think Heartquake could be seen as an opportunity for growth, right?
It can, potentially it can. And I have to say that the level of resilience of the patients we see, of the women in the group, is, I mean, it's mind-blowing. I'm very honored to be part of their journey. So, yeah, it can be, you can turn this into a moment of truth, of reality in your life that you can turn into your advantage and become sort of a better person, or a person that knows better. I often tell my patients, you know something that maybe most of us don't. You know the heart, your heart is the most precious thing in your life. And we're talking about the organ, of course, but we're also talking about the love.
Yeah, the emotional
heart. Yeah.
And we know ourselves better than anyone else. But
Exactly.
Why is it? So let me ask you a question. You're a psychologist. Why is it that people, women especially, because I have the support group, have a hard time trusting our hearts?
Well, it should be because it's probably because it failed you. I remember a patient telling me, my heart failed me. And then that was at the beginning of our treatment. And then towards the end, he said, no, I failed my heart. It's the other way around. I need to stay close to my heart. And trusting the heart, you know, is once it has, you know, had an event or problem, it's difficult. But there's a difference between the heart, the organ itself, and the emotional heart. But the emotional needs to stay.
Tell me the difference between the heart as an organ and the emotional heart.
This is a tricky question.
This is a big one. I think this is a really important one, because that's part of what I try to do here on Heartquake, is to tell people, like, our goal is to help you learn how to heal your heart physically, emotionally, spiritually, and everything in between.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, in going on through this heart journey for 30 years, basically, that's a long time.
Sure.
And there is a difference between your physical and your emotional and spiritual heart.
Absolutely.
So you being a psychologist, what is the difference that you see?
Looking at you, your example, and what you have accomplished, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you're healing your heart in also sharing your
100%.
experience with others. And so I think this capacity you have to be involved, to create a community, to share experience, to share communication and interviews and testimonies is wonderful, because this is how you're going to be able to create the love around your own heart and to help others.
It's true. And that's part of my mission is being of
Exactly.
service and helping others. And even having the support group. Women log on every month. We've been doing it
Yes.
for over a decade now.
Yes,
And they
yes.
say, thank you for helping us. But what they don't understand is that Elisa and I talk about it all the time. They're helping to heal our hearts as well.
Exactly.
Because it's that
Absolutely.
community. There's nothing, in my
Absolutely.
opinion, there's nothing like community.
Exactly right. And the best way to heal the heart is to create a community of love and care and support. And that's the best way also to heal trauma.
Yes.
Because, you know, as we talked about, trauma is a moment where your identity collapses, you feel very lonely, very isolated. You feel like suddenly you leave the world. You are still alive, but you're not in the world any longer.
Right.
So to go back to the world, it's very important to feel the love, to be loved, and to love also in return. So it's important to stay away from toxic people.
Well, and I think that's interesting. Yeah, toxic boundaries and toxic people. But what I wanted to get into is that a lot of people, they might be watching this and they're like, oh, I've always been told, you know, I don't know if you knew this about me, but my dad, he was always like, therapy's for wussies. Yes, he used that word, which is like, okay.
Yeah.
But I was so programmed when I was younger, like, no, we don't need therapy. You can't do therapy.
Therapy is not about being crazy, or it's not for wussies or whatever. Therapy is just about talking to somebody who is neutral, who is skilled and trained to actually understand from what you tell them, where they can become helpful, where we can find ways of helping you understand yourself better. That's what it's about.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that also the support groups help as well.
Absolutely.
And they're free. Like the Women Heart, we've got different support groups online, and knowing that that's free access to community too.
Absolutely.
Because peer support and talking to others is one thing, and then therapy is taking it a bit deeper too.
And therapy is confidential. Therapy is safe. Therapy is what we do in the group. It's confidential. It's safe. There is no place for anger. There is no place for hostility.
Right.
And that's why everybody feels, and that's why everybody comes back.
Yeah.
Because it's a very
They
unique.
do for years and years.
It's
But
a
listening
very
and holding
unique-
space for one another. And I think that it's important for a patient to know that their voice, their experience is important. It's valuable.
Absolutely.
Their voice is of value, and it's important
Absolutely.
to know that people are out there that want to hear your story.
Absolutely.
We want to be of service. We want to help you.
Absolutely. And I think to understand that what happened to you it happens to you, obviously, but you're also part of the world. You're also part of the human community. And it's important not necessarily to put yourself at the center of everything, but to understand that what you go through is actually shared by other people.
Yeah.
And so that you're part of a whole. It's not just you, Well,
and I think that that's really important because people in general, sometimes people think they're just in this box and they're alone
Right.
and they're isolated. And
Correct.
The Surgeon General says that isolation is as harmful for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Absolutely.
Which I completely would agree with,
Absolutely.
because when you see some of these people, and we've had women come into the support group and it's like, no one was there. I had this event and it's just my cat, and my cat can't call 911. And
Absolutely.
so it's really scary.
Absolutely.
And to feel that sense of isolation and feeling scared and feeling alone. If there's someone watching right now and they're feeling that way, what's your advice to them?
Well, I would say
because
that
therapy costs money too.
Yeah, therapy costs money, but I would say that it's important. There are also resources within communities, not just the heart community, but there are resources. If you have a hobby, if you like something in particular, a book club or knitting club, or go and become part of groups, of community. This is the best way to meet people.
Yeah.
And there is religious communities also. I always think that this is not a religious message per se, but I think churches, temples and stuff, they do a great job at bringing people together, just to bring them together
Right.
around, just a conversation, a little potluck, and just, don't hesitate to go out, to meet people, to do things, and to give yourself pleasure.
I love
pleasure
that.
is very important.
That we can enjoy life.
Absolutely.
And I feel grateful and blessed because this, just with Heartquake and this brand, like you said, is that I'm helping people, and that's my mission. That's what I always wanted to do.
And you're doing great.
So initially, Dr. Ann, you were a volunteer when we first started.
Yes.
You were a volunteer at UCLA, and now you're on staff. And I'm so happy to hear that because it's interesting because when you go to oncology, they always had a psychologist on staff.
That's exactly right.
Yet they didn't have it for heart disease.
That's exactly right. And I have to say that the Department of Cardiology of UCLA and the Rehabilitation Services have done an amazing job in lobbying with financial services. You know, it's always about finances, to say we absolutely need somebody on staff who would be available on site when patients are going through their rehabilitation, they're going through their trauma, to be able to address them right away. So they don't have to do.
Do you know if they have this at other hospitals? I'm sure I had spoken to someone at Mayo Clinic. I believe they have it at Mayo Clinic, but are you aware of any other hospitals that might have this?
I know that there are other cardiac psychologists in the country. The secret sauce with UCLA is that, like I said, I'm on site, which makes things so much easier. I can do follow-up also. Amazing. Like I don't see patients.
And of course, we love all the physicians at the Women's Cardiovascular
They're
Center
great.
at UCLA.
They're great. They're the best.
Yes.
They're the best.
It's an amazing team that's over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Very powerful women.
Definitely. Women celebrating other women too.
Exactly.
And you also help men too, right?
Yeah, at the Rehabilitation Center, men are also in need of support.
So tell us about cardiac rehab.
So cardiac rehab is designed specifically for people after what we call an MI, a myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack. There are specific diagnoses with cardiac rehab. Check with your cardiologist and come and ask them to prescribe cardiac rehab. You come, you exercise, you meet other people, very important. You do your exercise, you're being monitored. It's the best way to recover. Every patient we've had so far, I've been very pleased with the service, and you meet with me.
It's beautiful. So you mentioned connection. You meet people through the process.
Yes.
Tell us some things that you feel help people improve their heart.
The idea of cardiac rehab is that you were talking about trusting your heart.
Yes, because when people, that's one of the number one questions that comes through our door when we have the support group is, how can I ever trust my heart again? Like you said, the patient said, it failed me. I had a heart attack. I had a heart event. How can I trust my heart again? So how can a patient trust their heart again?
Right. So the cardiac rehab is great for that, because as you exercise, you're on a treadmill, on a new step, on the bicycle, they monitor your heart.
Okay.
And so you're being monitored. So you feel safe. You're in a hospital site. You feel safe because they can say your heart is doing great. I can see it on the EKG. Continue. You can even do a little bit more. And then they increase your level of exercise. And at the end of the program, patients have said, well, now I feel good. I can exercise on my own, because one of the problems patients have is that once they're discharged from the hospital, should I bicycle? Should I walk? Should I hike? Scared, they're very scared. And that's very normal, very, very normal. So we at Rehab, we give them that confidence in their heart.
So that's how to trust their physical heart again. How about how to trust their heart emotionally and spiritually too?
Well, it sort of comes together like that. But because, and that's what I work on with patients. And I do a lot of work around sleep. Sleep is very important for the heart. We are talking about risk factors for the heart. Sleep apnea, poor quality of sleep, chronic issues with sleep can potentially be harmful for the heart because your blood pressure goes up. We do a lot of work around sleep, meaning that we help patients regain a sense of safety, a sense of trust in life, not always easy, and also pay attention to their sleep. Not just wake up in the middle of the night and walking around the kitchen and, not knowing what to do for hours. That's not a good thing.
Yeah. Any advice on how people can feel safe in their body again?
Well, it's a process. Don't expect that to happen overnight. But I believe that the love that you can actually share with the people around you, working on your sleep, working on your stress level, creating boundaries. Creating boundaries.
Okay, so that's the number
right?
one challenge that I had. It's let's get into boundaries, Dr.
Right,
Ann, if
okay.
you have time.
Yes.
Because I had no boundaries. I'm a reformed people pleaser, okay? Everything I did was for everyone else, right? Got
There you
sick,
go.
and it was just, I was depleted all the time because I was just helping everyone all the time. And they didn't even ask for help, mind you, okay?
Right.
But I thought that was my job.
Right.
So then, all of a sudden, I learned about boundaries, but I put up a boundary, but it was almost as if I put up a huge wall. How do you bring boundaries into your life?
Boundaries. Okay. So it's kind of a case by case also. Yes, I understand you want to be there for people,
Right.
and then you're obviously very generous person yourself. But on the other hand, I always tell patients, not at the cost of your own health, not at the cost of your own life,
Right.
not at the cost of your own well-being, I should
Right.
say. Just take a step back. Some people can take takers.
Oh, yeah.
Takers.
Yes.
And when you feel that it's getting to be a little much for you, then take a step back.
Okay.
It's okay. You don't have to be hostile. You don't have to lose friends over this, but just take a step back. But I always say the same thing, and I feel it in my heart. I'm sure you feel it in your heart. You always know when the people who are actually good for your heart and those who are not.
And trust it.
And trust it.
So
Exactly.
I have this idea, right? That we have the five senses, and we have those five senses. Then everyone talks about the sixth sense, which is like that knowingness. Well, I believe in a seventh sense, which is the heart sense.
Okay.
Is the heart knowingness.
I love that.
And I think that it's so
I love it.
important, especially being a heart patient, that
I
we
love it.
honor our heart
Right,
sense
right.
and the intuition that comes from our hearts. Because even
Yes.
being a patient, we look outside ourselves so often. It's
Right.
as a parent too. You look at our kids and they're like looking for external validation.
Right.
When at the end of the day, it has to come from within us. That's
Absolutely.
my belief. But
Absolutely, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. Absolutely, and also remember for the people who are listening to us that it's my favorite phrase from Einstein, that we're talking about things that we cannot easily measure. What we're talking about, cardiologists, they measure cholesterol, blood pressure, and diabetes, and so on and so forth. You and I right now are talking about things that we cannot easily measure, but Einstein said that not everything that matters can be measured, and not everything that can be measured matters.
Thanks for watching Heartquake Media. Make sure you check out our website and social media for more information on heart healthy living.
wellness begins with your heart.